last season, but we're going to start with a different rumor after a quick word from FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much I never want the sports to stop sportsing, but as the summer gets deeper and deeper, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the ultimate Cleveland sports show. And I'm curious, guys, if FanDuel was to put odds on what team Brandon Aiyuk will suit up for in 2024, where the Cleveland Browns would land on that scale, because over the weekend, for about the 75th time this offseason, the Browns have officially been linked to Brandon Aiyuk in some sort of trade rumor. This latest report, comes from Cam Marino, who is an NFL draft insider, used to work for USA Today, who tweeted out, the Patriots and Browns are the front runners in trade discussions for 49er star wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Both teams offering more than $30 million per year. The Steelers also in the mix, but they should come down to the Patriots and the Browns. Aiyuk was unable to come to a contract extension thus far with the San Francisco 49ers. We know a few weeks ago the Browns and Amari Cooper came to a reworked deal to guarantee his total salary for the 2024 season. So are you guys surprised the Browns are still in the mix, according to this report, for Brandon Aiyuk, knowing the now certainty they have among their current wide receiver core?
It's a little confusing to me because I don't see it. Like, usually I'm the project stockpile guy. Usually I get a ledger and an email and notify me that there's ability to pick up.
Because you are the commissioner of Project Stockpile.
Yes.
Wait, what don't you see that they actually are interested or that they actually should be interested?
Well, it's like this thing is kind of dragged on a little bit, and it just seems like a move that the Browns, it's kind of late in the game. Like, it's kind of like, if I was the Browns looking at it, I'm like, all right, well, listen, obviously we don't want to spend that much money on Amari Cooper. We only gave him the $5 million more, right? So obviously we don't want that much money allocated to the receiver group. Now, it may be that they thinking like, well, maybe Brandon Aiyuk is different because he's younger, he's more, I guess he's a little more explosive, and he can grow with the core a little more, and he can get a little bit younger at that position with him and Jerry Jeudy. However, I would be very apprehensive to go into a season in which Deshaun Watson has not really, I mean, Jerry Jeudy just practiced for the first time, like a little bit, like yesterday on Sunday.
There's no chemistry yet.
There's none. Then you're talking about he only played a few games with Elijah Moore, and obviously you talk about Amari Cooper, like he doesn't have that much chemistry with them. Some people argue, hey, are we gonna get the same David Njoku that we got with Flacco?
Sure,
like because he was a different type of style. So
it was his best year.
It was his best year under him. So now you go say, all right, well, no, we don't need Amari Cooper because I don't see how you get him without giving up Amari Cooper. And say, all right, we'll bring Brandon Aiyuk off the street with a brand new offense. And not to mention, you got a brand new offensive coordinator. You got brand new tight ends coaches, running backs coaches. There's a bunch of different moving parts. And I'm like, can you expect the Browns to hit the ground running with the schedule that they have and still add a major piece like that?
Yeah, with basically a month for he and Deshaun to get on the same page.
If they did it, I wouldn't be salty, Earl, because I'm like, okay, well, they can eventually figure it out. But it would be a very tough sell for me to say that they're going to be hitting on all cylinders come Cowboys.
Earl, let me ask you a question before you dive in here. Is it an assumption for you that to make this deal, you'd have to give up Amari Cooper?
No,
because you made it sound like, well, obviously they would have to. If that's part of this conversation, I don't even pick up the phone.
I think before I dive into it, I think the first wide receiver that came to my mind will be Elijah Moore, and then maybe an offensive lineman. Because
I think their interest is in other positions.
I'm thinking the way I'm looking at it, and I watched some things on NFL Network over the weekend about San Francisco. They're gearing up to pay Brock Purdy next year, right? We done seen quarterback after quarterback reset the market. They've already committed to keeping Trent Williams a part of this team. Yep. Debo got money. Christian McCaffrey got money. And so they might be looking at this, okay, how can I put myself in a position to where I can possibly get another playmaker with some potential that I don't have to pay top dollar to?
Sure.
Even if Elijah Moore performs this year, he's not getting Brandon Aiyuk money. And so I'm trying to put myself in the mind of the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, what else do you throw it in there? Because they're not doing it straight up.
No, they're not doing it straight up.
Be...
I don't know what I would throw in there, but to dive into what G had to say, I just think these are the politics of the NFL when a player is trying to get paid. I think the Browns are kind of being used as a pawn in this entire game. Brandon Aiyuk is trying to get paid, and more than likely, he probably won't leave the San Francisco 49ers. Now, with that being said, like, what I welcome a trade for Brandon Aiyuk, of course. Who wouldn't want to add more playmakers? But there's always another side to the coin when it comes to everything. G laid it out perfectly, in my opinion. You already got a brand new offense, brand new offensive coordinator. Due to everybody missing time, there's no real chemistry with the impact playmakers that Deshaun Watson is going to be throwing the football to. Now you're talking about bringing a guy in here this late into training camp with his season, according to 3 days, 3 days from today. 33 days from today, the NFL season starts. Okay, so you're talking about trying to implement a guy into a system 33 days, 37 days for the Browns before kickoff and expect it to hit the ground running. It just really don't make sense at this point. Yeah. I think if there was really any truth to this, or if there was things that could develop, it would have happened earlier in the offseason. And so I just think this is a situation to where the Browns are just being used as a pawn as Brandon Aiyuk seeks to get paid.
Yeah, he's a top-tier player. There's no question about that. There's 10 to 12 teams that would love to have him in their wide receiver arsenal. But to me, you have to ask yourself this question. What is the price, and who are the other suitors? Is New England a serious contender for him? They're not one player away.
At all.
Pittsburgh, I think, would be serious.
Well, there are a number of other teams that I haven't mentioned yet that would be serious contenders to add another receiver. They might be a team that they feel they're on the cusp of the playoffs, or that they're on the cusp of a playoff run. That would be the Browns. And this player might be the guy that put you over the top. Could Brandon Aiyuk help this offense? Unquestionably, he could. As for the chemistry part, it's very interesting, G. Who does Deshaun Watson have chemistry with?
Amari.
Amari?
I feel that,
I don't even know he has Amari.
I feel like it's yet to be seen. He's played too few games. I don't know who his favorite receiver is.
I know, but typically when we saw Joe Flacco for fewer games than we've seen Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform.
But it was immediate.
It was boom, you blinked and you're like, oh, there's his safety blanket, David Njoku.
He likes that right there.
And it was instant and it was immediate, and that's partly because of the veteran quarterback that he was. He got there, he looked around, and he said, okay, what are my options? I've got Amari Cooper and I've got David Njoku. If Amari's covered, Njoku's getting the football. And they both racked up numbers. Their best numbers in a Browns uniform for both, if I'm not mistaken. And think about it. They did it with 5 quarterbacks, and only a quarter of the season did they have Joe Flacco. Or maybe a third of the season.
I liked, and the reason why people like Flacco, like people say, he didn't play, there's this debate thing. Shout out to the Kool-Aid Mafia and the Flaccavelli out there, man. I still excited to go back and watch some of these games. Some of them games he was
turned it up.
He turned it up. One of the things that why people believe that he played so well, or it looks like that way, is because that's the way that other quarterbacks play. Other quarterbacks play like this. How many times do you see on other teams, star quarterback, star receiver, and they just wear you out?
All the time.
They're like, oh, I'm going to throw to him 12 times.
Look at Mahomes and Kelsey.
I'm going to wear, I'm not going to, all this. It takes a very rare quarterback. Like, there's only a few guys, like a Peyton Manning, where they can spread the ball. Not a Peyton Manning, I'm sorry, Tom Brady. That'll spray the ball to different parts. But for the most part, all the great quarterbacks, they hitting people. Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning, Steve Young, and Joe Montana with Jerry Rice.
Right.
If they're not Megatron, I got one guy and he's better than them, I'm giving him the ball. So we haven't seen that a little bit with Deshaun Watson. It's been more this guy. I'm anxious to see who develops, because I do think that there's going to be one guy who develops in the new system.
And who knows? Because he doesn't have that security blanket right now, maybe this is the guy. And maybe it can develop in 37 days. I mean, the clock is ticking. I just don't know what to make of the reports. I really don't. Oftentimes, when you get two teams that are mentioned, it's coming from the team that's trading the player.
Or the agent.
Or the agent. And if that's the case, and it's just the Patriots, I have to ask, are the Patriots really a serious suitor? That tells me that they might have already identified that the Browns are really the team that wants him. But remember what the front office always tells us. They love the wide receiver room. I don't know how you wouldn't be interested in a player like this, but you got to be very careful. You can't overpay. And if it includes Amari Cooper, you're swapping players, and instead of drastically improving your room, you're just trading one A+ or A receiver for another B+ receiver only because he's got better receivers on his team in Brandon Aiyuk.
And when you look at Andrew Berry's track record, drafting receivers, we have a question. But
No, we don't have a question. It's awful.
But I'm just saying, I guess, my point is.
I mean, there's no question.
Okay, that's not the point. Just
right.
Let me get to the point.
He can't draft them.
Oh, sure. I don't disagree for the record.
Right.
But he has made, not just in the receiver room, but across this roster, a lot of very good trades for the right price. We look back at the Amari Cooper deal, stealing got Zadarius Smith for essentially nothing, traded 2 late-round picks for Jerry Jeudy.
He also brought in Elijah Moore, though.
Which, if Elijah Moore pans out, he gave up a sack, traded 30 picks. Like that's not a dead.
I mean, we've seen him for a season.
My point is, Jay. My point is, we never hear about these trades before they happen. Andrew Berry moves in silence when he makes these trades. The fact that they've been rumored now like 7 different times with Brandon Aiyuk makes me feel this is not necessarily coming from the front office whatsoever for the Browns.
Oh, it's not coming
and being
from them.
back-channeled through whether it's agents, to Earl's point earlier. I kind of agree. They feel like pawns in this whole situation. Like I don't
Would you
think
do
any
it?
of this. If you get Brandon Aiyuk, absolutely, you know what? Yeah, of course, 100 of 100 times.
But, I mean, it depends on what you're giving up.
If you get a chance to get Brandon Aiyuk.
All right. Well,
you're not saying you whatever the cost is.
Let me throw it out there. So I like specifics. I'm a numbers guy. Hey, what's up? Y'all trying to give up a 2nd-round pick?
A 2nd-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk?
Yeah,
yes.
2nd round.
Yeah.
I would do a 2nd-round pick.
You do a 2nd. Would you do a 2nd and a 3rd?
No, I'd do a 2nd and a player.
But if I can get away with a 3rd and a player.
Well, of course you would try that, but I don't think. Guys, Brandon Aiyuk, he is a legitimate receiver threat.
Okay.
Legitimate. He's not Elijah
He
Moore.
was an all-pro last year.
Yes.
This is what I'm
Yes.
saying. The Browns have a good situation. You probably got the best guard combination in football with Bitonio and Wyatt Teller.
Right.
But let's be realistic.
They're aging.
Let's be realistic. Joe Bitonio is already at the point to where he's taking it year for year. It's a very realistic chance that if the Browns reach the pinnacle this year, Joe Bitonio will retire at the end of the year. Okay? You've talked about the contract situation with Wyatt Teller. You know that you got 2 young guards in Zach Zinter and Luke Whippler behind these dudes. So if I can trade a 3rd-round pick and a starter, I think that's enough to get it done. You're getting somebody that can protect Brock Purdy this year, maybe next year, whoever knows. And then you getting a 3rd-round pick. You do what you want with it. We know that we getting Brandon Aiyuk, but we still got to pay him.
No, absolutely.
I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up. No, when I'm doing trades at this dead late, I want to fleece you. I'm not trying to give up no starters. I want. If you can't.
But
draft,
you're getting a starter.
You're getting a starter. I would rather give up compensation. The Browns always drafted in the 2nd round.
I know, but do you dare? You can't give up a 1st.
No. I would give them a 2nd and a 4th.
I feel like you can't give up a 1st because
Mike.
2nd and 4th and take it and leave.
No, we've been without a 1st for too long.
Well, here's the thing.
Extend that streak.
Tackle is an uncertainty past this year. Wide receiver and edge rusher opposite of Myles Garrett. To me, just looking ahead, I think one of those 3 positions could be your 1st-round pick next year. Tackle, wide receiver, or edge rusher opposite of Myles.
Yeah, I just want to see how this year goes before I even start thinking how we're going to allocate assets in the future because
I'm
we
just adding on to your point. You don't trade the 1st-round pick, you're going to need it.
No, I agree with that. If this trade involves the 1st-round pick, I would not take the phone call.
I agree. The extension price is too much for the 1st-round pick. And we're going to run through
What are the fans saying?
Well, I'm going to get to that in 1 second. One question for you guys before we move on to these fan-submitted trade proposals for Brandon Aiyuk. We got a bunch of these. Thank you for submitting them. Do you buy the report that the Browns are genuinely interested, though?
I do.
Yes or no? You do buy it?
I buy that, yeah.
G, do you buy the fact
because there's
that
too
the
much
Browns are
smoke.
genuinely interested?
around it?
I think they're at the due diligence level. I think the name has been floated. I don't know if they be an aggressor, like, hey, let me get Brandon Aiyuk tomorrow. Like, I think they playing it like, if we get him, like, he's the one that don't want to play for y'all. He don't want to play for you. Like, you got to work with us. Like, we got our receiver. Hey, like you said, we like our receiving room.
I think
I didn't say that. They did.
Andrew Berry. I mean, he ain't no fool. Of course, he's interested, but I don't think the Browns is actively trying to construct a package to send to San Francisco to try to get Brandon Aiyuk. No, I don't think that.
Especially when they added Judy. I mean, I think they got the guy that they think they needed to improve their room enough to win a Super Bowl.
But sometimes guys come available that wasn't available at
that's
that
true.
time. And if you got the opportunity to get another weapon and another playmaker,
that's true.
You got to do that as well.
Earl, that's a fair point.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Then you go on to what you want to do. If they do get Aiyuk and they don't have to give up Amari Cooper, does that put the Browns as the prohibitive favor in the AFC North?
I just could never say prohibitive in this division. This division is so tough.
Anything over 50%. Do you have a 50%?
No, because
confidence?
there's three teams that could legitimately win it. So if you look at the way things were last year and the way things come into this year, if you just split that and say Cincinnati's got 33%, Cleveland's got 33%, and Baltimore's got 33%, you're not even factoring in Pittsburgh. Now, I don't think that they are at that level, but if you're going to give Cleveland a 50%, that means there's less than 50% left to be split between Cincinnati and Baltimore, and underestimate them at your own peril.
I agree with that, but if you put, it's hard to say that, but if you say I got Aiyuk, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, and whatever Nick Chubb comes back looking like, that skill set.
But what was our biggest question mark today about the season is what?
Well, that's the quarterback, of course.
Okay, so even if you add another wide receiver, the biggest question mark tomorrow will still be,
if he can't play with them dudes,
Oh, you're right. I agree.
If you can't get, we can put you back there and just check it down, Jay.
I agree.
Like that.
Well, I don't agree with that part. My 59-year-old ass isn't doing anything out there. But I will say, like, I know it would get you to the idea that, oh, wow, they would be the favorite to win the division. But the fact of the matter is, Baltimore and Cincinnati aren't going away.
Yeah.
And I just think that these three teams have a puncher's chance to win the division, and I would also say they all three have to be in the conversation to win the Super Bowl. To go to the Super Bowl. The conversation.
Well, that means, McNugget, is like, if they got to make that calculation then. Because if they're like, we already got a good chance at 33% to win a division.
Right.
Do we go all in and just,
go up to 40%?
To go up to 42%? Yeah. That's where I was going with it.
Okay.